Good evening, boys and girls. The Highbury squad is back. And my goodness, do we love a global football tournament. It is a good distraction away from the Arsenal, but we will be talking about the Arsenal a little bit too. Here we go. It's the Euros and some transfer torture talk. So is it coming home or is it not? There's only one man who can help us decipher everything that is England. Tomorrow night, we do the rest of Europe. But for tonight, it's Super Kevin Campbell in the house.
Broke the neck, you know.
Kev, I just want to say I love the new caption for your picture. It is pretty epic. KC broke the neck. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of this so people can see. Look at that. KC broke the neck. I mean, come on, you guys. Have you not missed him or what? I've missed him. How have you been, KC?
I've been good. I've been doing some visiting of family and stuff. Been in London, so it's been really good. But I'm back up here for a little while, and then I'm moving again. Got a lot of people to see now that the season's over. Only real chance I get to see family, obviously, with COVID, etc. So should be good.
No, it's great, isn't it? Kind of reconciling with people and seeing family and seeing friends, be able to hug and, you know, kiss. And I don't know, I mean, making out. I'm not sure about that, but I'm just saying it's just, you know, fun. All of the above.
Well, let's put it this way. We try to do all of the above, don't we?
We do.
We try.
I mean, listen to Taib here. Sophie turns up on hump day. LOL. That's cheeky. It's very cheeky.
Listen, whatever day it is, you know, you try and make the most. Broke it up, yes.
All right, well, look, we're going to get stuck right into this. The Euros do start on Friday. I have to say, Kev, this tournament has a very, very special place in my heart, and I think you know why. Yeah. There's actually a documentary coming out in a couple of weeks here in the US. I know it's out in Europe and Australia already, called King Otto, which is the journey of the Greek team in 2004. I never thought in my lifetime I would see either Greece or Cyprus win a Euros before England, Super Kev. But my goodness, you know, it had that Leicester magic, but on a much bigger world stage level.
Scale. Yeah, because it's the country, the national team. And they were so unfancied. Nobody gave them a chance until the end, really. You know, they kept getting past these teams. And you thought, oh, you know, Portugal are going to get them in the next game. And they didn't. And then they just kept rolling. Confidence. What a fantastic story.
It's a great story.
Beautiful, beautiful story.
I'm going to share the trailer on my Twitter too, because there's a scene in the trailer, Kev, where the voiceover says they haven't won a competitive game, and Otto says, "What?" And he's in German. He's just like, "What?" It's so brilliant. I mean, there's something very George Graham about how
them against us. Them against us. He's clever, that Otto. He worked it perfectly. He really did. And I'm sure he got into a lot of the minds of the players. Them against us.
Yeah,
and
so good.
Let's go for it. Let's prove everybody wrong. And once you get momentum, it's so hard to stop.
And they stopped Portugal not once, but twice. They stopped Ronaldo and his boys as well. And Taib, no, we're not in it this year, unfortunately. We did not make it. We did not make the cut. We are not going to the Euros. But that's okay, because that means I could get to support England, who will also break my heart, because I am definitely cut from the cloth that says it is not coming home. Absolutely 100% it's not coming home. That's just one woman's opinion. I can't wait to hear Kev's and what he thinks and what his starting 11 is. But this is a great England team, Kev, who I think is managed by an overly cautious manager. Timeout.
Great England team. Are you sure?
Okay, let me rewind that. You know me, I always love to correct myself if I go over the top.
Yeah.
This is a solid England team who are managed by a very cautious manager who I think got to the World Cup semi-finals not because we beat great teams, but because we beat weak teams along the way. And then when faced with the big boys, you know, whether it was a Belgium or a Croatia, or whenever we come up against those kinds of teams, we just can't quite cut it. There's something about this England team, Kev, I do not trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're well within your rights for that. It's proven over years that we don't seem to get it done. And you know what? Against Croatia, we had a great opportunity. And there was one where Harry Kane could have slipped it into Sterling to get a goal, but he took it on himself. Now, this is the type of thing you have to be selfless, because you might only get one chance. And you get one chance and you take the lead, all of a sudden the dynamic changes. So I think maybe we've learned from that. I'd like to think we have, but I'm with you, Sophie. I don't trust it. I think it's a talented squad, very talented squad. I just think there's some players there who are probably nearing this will be their last tournament or so. They might get the World Cup in next year, obviously. But there's a group of young players where I truly believe are going to be the future of this England team. And it's how you integrate them in. Do you give them the opportunities now so they're going to be better in the long run? Or do you stick with the so-called tried and tested that haven't got you over the hump before? So.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in here. Lone Star, Italy are never a dark horse in a tournament.
Never.
Italy are always average in qualifying, but when they get to the tournament, they are no dark horse. They can win this whole thing. Do not count them out.
Don't underestimate them. Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna do our predictions tomorrow, not tonight. For tonight, I want to talk about the England squad with Kev and get his starting 11, and then we'll get you guys out on a little bit of Arsenal transfer torture talk, because the torture is well and truly in flux, Super Kev. But we'll start with England. Right. So this is it. This is the squad. It's an interesting team. It's definitely a coming-of-age team, Super Kev. You mentioned some players that might be heading into their twilight. Will they get another tournament again? Maybe that's the Jordan Hendersons of the world. I think, I think they've got another World Cup in them, maybe Harry Kane, but then after Harry Kane's even 28, he's going to be 32 by the next time the Euros hit. I want to get your take on, firstly,
that ain't the squad.
That isn't the squad, is it?
No.
It is. It says 2021. Look, there's Oxlade-Chamberlain. That was last year's.
Yeah, there's Trent Arnold there, and
let's just say that, look at this. It says Euro 2020-21 Super Kev, and that's from a daily newspaper today.
Yeah, well,
there's no Bukayo. It's okay.
They put it to wind people up, haven't they? That's what they've done.
I put it to wind everyone up too. But let's
Danny
talk.
Rose,
Yeah. Let's definitely start, Kev, because there's a number of players that have featured heavily and won a lot this season. You're talking about rising stars like Mason Mount, of course, Saka, Grealish. You've got Bellingham. You've got Sancho. You've got someone who's suffered a little bit this season, like a Raheem Sterling, but he's been one of Southgate's trusted guys. You always talk to me about, even if I can correlate it to our team and Arteta, there's reasons why he kept picking Willian. There's reasons why he kept picking, a David Luiz. There's reasons why even at the beginning of his tenure, he kept picking a Mustafi or a Kolasinac in terms of more tenured players, more trust.
Yeah.
What's your take on Gareth Southgate and what you think his attitude is going into this with regards to the Jordan Hendersons of the world versus the Mason Mounts?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a like for like, to be honest. I think Jordan Henderson is one of the most experienced players in the squad. And the fact that they could bring more players now, I think the squad is 26, allows him to have a couple of wild cards in there that, you might need later on in the tournament, so to speak. Jordan Henderson is nowhere near fit. He hasn't played the games. And if it was a 22-man squad or something like that, then you'll probably say it probably won't work to take him because you just haven't got the bodies. But when you've got the extra 3 players, I think you can maybe take a chance on him. So that's probably the case on that one. I think Gareth Southgate has a really tough job because he can never pick the right squad, Sophie. That's for sure. He can never pick the right squad. People are having a meltdown about him picking 4 right backs, right? Now, let's have this right. Gareth Southgate, his favourite system means Kyle Walker is not a right back. He's a right-sided centre-back.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings it down to 3 right backs. Whereas Reece James can play right centre-back and right back. So you've got 2 players who could play centre-back and right back. So that negates, and then you've got 2 specialists, full-back stroke wing-backs in Trippier, and at the time it was Alexander Trent-Arnold. So that's why he done that. I get that. People have he's going to pick 4 right back. Use some of that. He's got to try and be flexible. He has to, because his favoured system is 3 centre backs.
Right. And Kev, he's not going to change that at this point going into this tournament when fans, obviously they want to, put square pegs in round holes. This is how he's going to play. Correct? 100%.
Yeah.
Unless he has to adapt in a game, of course. Unless he has to adapt in a game.
Yeah. If he has to adapt in a game, fair enough. But he likes the free. He likes the flexibility the free gives him in midfield, wide, and the floating 2 at the top end of the pitch. He likes the rotation. So he's not going to change it unless he really has to.
Okay, so I'm going to give you this one, Kev, before we start with your 11, and we'll go back to front. The England squad by club. Do you remember back in the day where this was dominated a lot by Arsenal players as well, Kev? Clearly, that's not the case these days. Arsenal represented by 1 player, and that is Saka, as we know. Manchester United have 5, Manchester City 4, Aston Villa 3, Chelsea 3, Everton 3, Borussia Dortmund 2, Liverpool 2, West Ham 2, Arsenal 1. And then the rest of these clubs also make up with 1 representative from their club. Atletico Madrid, Brighton, Leeds, Southampton, Sheffield United, Tottenham Hotspur, West Brom and Wolves. Those are the clubs that make up for all the players who are part of this England squad. Kev, let's start at the very back. Who's your goalkeeper?
Pickford. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I know he's had not a bad second half to the season. I know sometimes he has got a mistake, but I think he's performed pretty well for England, to be honest. And I just think he's been the constant there. Some of the other keepers have done really well, obviously, but I think possession is 9/10 of the law, Soph, and Pickford is the number 1.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to kind of argue with that. A lot of people have been talking about Dean Henderson, but we've seen as well as he's done coming into that United side, Kev, he's made a couple of faux pas as well. Hasn't he? And I think that, again, this goes back to the trust factor with Gareth Southgate. Just to play along with us as well, our good friend of the show, we announced it today, Mr. Dan Potts, who's coming on for a segment next season called Get Off the Potsy. We love Dan. He's picked Pickford as well. So as you pick yours, I'll announce.
I'll tell you what, me and Dan agreeing is worrying. I'm telling you.
It's only the goalkeeper, Kev. We're only at the very beginning.
Goalkeeper. Yeah, true.
Okay, so then what does that back line look like for you, Kev?
Well, maybe I should tell you my system. Your system. I'm going with what Gareth Southgate's probably going to go with, which is the 3-4-3 system. And my back 3, I'm going the tried and tested. I'm going Walker, Stones, who's had a really good season, and I'm going Harry Maguire because I just think he's going to be fit. Yep, he's going to be fit, and he plays.
You think so? You think he's going to make you think he's going to make the game on Friday, Harry Maguire?
Listen, You've asked me my team. Whether he makes the game on Friday, I don't know. I can only tell you my best 11
Okay. All right.
out of a squad of 26. If he doesn't make it, then Tyrone Mings will probably come in.
Okay.
Or someone else. But I think if everybody's fit, especially in that back line, I think Harry Maguire plays.
Dan has Walker, Shaw, Stones, and Mings.
Also, he's
going for a four.
Back four, right?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Again, like Henderson, Kev has hardly played in the last few months. Maguire, he's been out. When you come into a tournament, one of the things that I really dislike about England sometimes is they pick players on name versus form. So, as we move a little further ahead on the pitch, I'll let you know what I think of some of those choices. But I think in the past, we've taken Rooney when he wasn't fit. We've taken Beckham when he wasn't fit, and it's come back to bite us in the arse. And here we go again with trying to squeeze Henderson into the mix, trying to squeeze Maguire into the mix. And you saw Henderson comes on, takes off a penalty from Calvert-Lewin. Shouldn't have done that. Absolutely uncouth to do that. And then misses it as well. And so I just feel like, this is Southgate's shot. If he performs badly in this tournament, he can't continue on as England manager. This is a good team that can go far.
Why can't he? Why can't he?
Well,
we've got the World Cup next year. So
yeah, but he's had a shot at the World Cup. He's had a shot at the World Cup, and he would have had a shot at the Euros.
Yeah, but semi-final in the World Cup.
Yeah, but he beat Panama on 500 penalties and
Sophie.
Yeah.
Sophie.
Yeah.
It's the semi-final of the World Cup, and it's only Panama. Come on now. How many times have England got to the semi-final of the World Cup?
A few times. But Kevin, come on, with this team.
But I just think you're playing it down. I think honestly, you're playing down the fact we got to the semi-final. Yeah, it wasn't the top teams, but you still have to beat them.
No, I understand that, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. But when you do look at the group and the teams that we beat, and then when it got to the crux of having to beat the good teams, we just could not do it. And he's had a shot at the World Cup. He's had a shot at the Euros. And with this team where, as we've seen, time ticks, it's ticked on Harry Kane, it's ticked on players like Jordan Henderson, it ticked on Beckham, it ticked on Rooney and Lampard, Gerrard, the so-called generation, a golden generation, wasted years with Capello and Sven-Göran Eriksson in charge too long, not making moves.
And where did they get to? But
that's what I'm saying. They were given.
Did they get to a semi?
No, they didn't, and they were given way too long to try and prove they could.
But that's what I'm trying to say. So there has to be, again, if he doesn't do so well in this tournament, the fact of getting a new manager in, he doesn't have time. It's the World Cup next year. So unfortunately, he's playing. A new manager will be snookered, as far as I'm concerned. So for me, he's got these two tournaments. So that's my fault.
Okay, well, we disagree on that, right? That's fine. Let's move on to your.
Hold on, have you picked your back four yet?
Yeah, I'm going with. I'm torn between Luke Shaw and Chilwell, but I tell you something, on the right, I'd rather Trippier than Walker. What do you think? Do you think I'm crazy?
No, are you going back four?
I'm going to go back four. I'm going to go Trippier. Right. I'm going to go.
Who's had a great season, by the way.
He's had a great season, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Mings. I'm going to go Stones, and I'm going to go Luke Shaw. I think that's as left back. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Yep, that's a strong back four. Yep. Okay.
Very strong back four. Okay. What's your midfield look like, Kev?
I've gone for Reece James, who I think has had an excellent season at Chelsea. He's going to be my wide right. Fullback, pushed on. I'm going for Declan Rice. He's the holding midfielder. I'm going for Mason Mount, who's going to be the more advanced one. And I'm going for Luke Shaw on the left-hand side. I'm torn between Saka and Luke Shaw, but I just think Luke Shaw is probably the better defender of the two as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The interesting thing is, system-wise, that's where I was in a pickle because I rate James.
Yeah.
He's been really great. For me, Tyrone Mings has mistakes in him, Kev. I know people like him. He's imposing, Tyrone Mings. But when you look at the system and stuff like that, that was one of the toughest decisions in the sense that not being able to play James. But in the middle, I'm gonna say, why not go with Declan Rice and Mason Mount? Move it forward. I just don't think Jordan Henderson is ready for this tournament. Yeah. And I think that if you want him in the squad because he might have an effect later on, that's fine. But start off with the hot plays. Now, I know Rice was injured towards the end of the season, Kev, but he's definitely more in the mode, I think, to be ready for this game fitness-wise than Jordan Henderson. And Mason Mount is having the season of his young career so far.
Definitely.
And Dan's gone for Mount and Rice as well.
Wow, I tell you what, Dan, I need a drink here. Jesus. I love it. Okay. Brilliant.
All right. Next up, Kev, what you got? What does that three look like?
Well, I like Grealish. I think he's got to play. Obviously, Harry Kane's the number 9. He's our best goal scorer. And I was really contemplating Sterling. I think Sterling went a little bit off the boil. I think someone just mentioned about Saka. I think Saka's going to be a substitute waiting to come on, who could change a game. But I'm going to go for a bit of a wild card. It's not a wild card to me, but I just think Jadon Sancho brings so much to the table in creativity, quality, and understanding European football as well, because he plays in Europe. Just that know-how. So I'm going to go with that front three: Grealish, Kane, and Sancho. Grealish could go wherever he likes. Sancho could go where he likes to create havoc, and then Harry Kane stay up the pitch and put the ball in the net.
Yeah. So Dan and I have got the same system, and we've pretty much got the same front three. I think, Kev, when you get to a tournament like this, play to win, right?
Yep.
Play to win. Don't play it safe. And I think the worst thing I'll see when the team's announced is if Rashford and Sterling are in that starting lineup, because neither have been great. They have not. Both lost their finals as well. They might be low on confidence. Also played a lot of football. Everyone's played a lot of football. But if you really want to set the Euros on fire and set your soul and your team on fire, you go with a Foden, a Grealish, and a Sancho. That is, for me,
take your pick, because you could take Sancho out and put Foden in, can't you? You could mix and match them. You can mix and match. Kane's the one constant. But there might be times where Sancho and Foden play.
Exactly.
Or you switch it around, Grealish and Foden, or Sancho and Grealish. It's just a pick 'em, really.
Are you concerned about the age? I'm not at all. Foden plays fearless football. Grealish is nowhere near afraid of anything in football. He is probably one of the most exciting English players on the ball. I'm not saying talent-wise, Kevin, I'm not getting carried away, but on the ball, in terms of getting fouls, getting set pieces, carrying the ball, pushing your team forward.
He's direct.
Since Gaza. The most exciting I've seen since Gaza. He's not Gaza, but he has that same excitement about him. And so does Foden. And you know what? So does Sancho. I think Sancho's getting a bit lost in the Foden and Grealish noise. And people are forgetting, because he plays for Dortmund as well, how good he is.
How good he is. How good. Let me tell you, talent-wise, in that squad, there's none better. I'm telling you now, talent-wise, I've seen Jadon play since he was a kid. Talent-wise, he's right up there. Maybe a little bit has been lost because he's at Dortmund, but one thing we do know, that's why Manchester United are probably looking to bring him in, because look, even with the Rashfords of this work, they couldn't get across the line. So they need somebody special who can unlock doors. And that young man, he can unlock doors. He's a special talent.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And of course, it's got to be in our system. It's Kane up front. I mean,
by the way, this number 10.
What's he saying?
He said they're all 10s. Mason Mount is not a 10. He's a central midfielder.
Does he mean 10s or 10 out of 10s? Oh, he means they're 10s.
I just think are 10s. I don't know. What do you mean?
No, Mason Mount's not a 10. There, right here, yeah.
So we need to know, does he mean they're 10s or
Ryan.
number 10s?
Yeah. Also, the person who said Sancho, Diaz, stop this. And then Barry will back that up by saying Sancho's unbelievable talent, 50 goals in 64 assists in 137 Dortmund matches. Riaz, go back and have a little glass of water or a cup of tea and come back and tell us why you think.
Get some minty. Some minty to calm you down. Minty.
And yeah, Mount's more of an 8, isn't he? Isn't he, Kev? So, so that's the side. Now, what
has Dan gone for, by the way?
Kane up front. So Dan's team is Pickford, Walker, Shaw, Stones, Mings, Rice, Mount, Foden, Grealish, Sancho, and Kane. The difference for me with him is I've got Trippier for Walker and I've got Luke Shaw on my left. On the left side, but then our system and our players are the same. Now, of course, Kev, you're back. We did Kevin Says on Monday with Lee and Dan. They subbed in for you. There are a lot of squaddies.
Wait, was it Monday? Was it Friday?
It was Friday. Yeah, sorry.
So you're getting muddled up. Yeah, I'm out. You're out. It's all right. Don't worry.
They subbed in for you. Some of the squaddies missed you terribly. They wanted to sub them off and bring you back on. But a lot of them absolutely loved it and enjoyed it too, of course.
I enjoyed watching it. It
was fun. Yeah. So they haven't had a chance to ask you a lot of questions, and we will be doing an updated Kevin Says with Kev, of course. But you can imagine the number one question for you in chat is, what, Kev? No Saka starting? Tell us why Saka wouldn't start and what your take is on that.
Saka's young. He's had a good season. We know what type of player he is, but there's only 11 who can play. Now, I think as the tournament goes on, the Bukayo Sakas of this world are going to come to the fore, because in knockout high stakes football, you need people in the team who can do something. Now, for me, I think this squad is gonna transition from the group stage to the knockout stage. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be suspensions probably, and I think Saka is gonna, if he gets an opportunity, he's gonna take his opportunity. Mm-hmm. I really think so. And the fact he can play multiple positions, I wouldn't knock it if Luke Shaw was out and Saka was in one game to see what Saka can do.
Kev, and I wanted to put Riaz's comment up. I think too that somehow in this team, and I know he was carrying a bit of a knock a few days ago, but I think Saka has played himself into a more favourable position than Sterling, than maybe even a Rashford. And like you said, the flexibility, the versatility of Saka allows him perhaps more of an opportunity to those out of form players to come step in, because we've seen it at Arsenal all season. The kid can play multiple positions. And in a tournament like this, where, like you said, anyone can get injured and players are tired, Kevin, they're exhausted. I mean, it might be that this tournament starts off really slow. These players are exhausted. The turnaround from last season to this season has not been, they've not had that rest time, right? But I think also you're right, Lone Star, the maturity of Saka, and Southgate's talked about this. It's incredible. He's more mature than Aubameyang. You can see it in the dressing room when, sometimes he looks a bit fed up with Aubameyang's antics. But he will have a part to play in this tournament at some point.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Sophie, that Bukayo Saka's got so much talent, and he's a focused kid. He's only a baby, but these youngsters are coming up and they're focused. Look at the amount of youngsters that's there. You know, we've talked about golden era and golden group, but do you know what? This group now that are youngsters that are coming up are really, really impressive and really talented. So I think it's really important for Gareth Southgate to incorporate the Sakas of this world as much as possible, because they're the future, whether we like it or not, Sophie. They are.
Yeah. And I know that he made Rashford captain the other day, and I think some of that has to do with, I don't like saying this kind of stuff, but a lot of that has to do with he's been such an incredibly leader-driven figure across the country over COVID, hasn't he, Rashford? He's done so many good things, but I don't think he's necessarily had a great season, Kev. And I know he made him captain. And I think
he's had a decent season, hasn't he? But
yeah,
he was better probably last season.
Yeah.
But,
and
you know.
Do you think Southgate is going to play it too safe, Kev? What does your gut tell you about him, regardless of the system? Is he going to be very conservative? How do you see him lining?
No, I don't think he wants to play conservative. I don't think he does. I mean, with the talent that England have got, you can't play conservative because that means you're going against what the players' natural abilities are. Obviously, there's going to be times where you've got to defend and you've got to get behind the ball. But I just think with the talent that the team have, even if you do sit deep, you have the players who can unlock defenses, players who can get you up the pitch in Grealish and Sancho and Foden and Mount and, you know, whoever you pick at the top end of the pitch, you have players who can really make a difference. So I don't think the narrative from the coach is going to be safe. If the players are too safe, then I think Southgate's going to have to change it and get people on who, you know, are going to push the team forward, because it can happen. You know, a manager doesn't send the team out to be negative, but the team get out there and are negative. So sometimes if you keep trying to tell them, no, I don't want you doing that, then maybe he has to make a change. And that's where I believe Saka might really come to the fore.
So with every tournament, we always see stars rise, Kev, and we see them, and they're not necessarily part of the pre-tournament narrative. There's a player who I'm going to pick out for England that I think is going to have a say in this tournament. And for me, I think he's one of the most exciting. And again, he plays a little bit like Saka, ESR. He plays like Foden, like Mount. That fearless football, the mental strength of these younger players coming through, Kev, is very different to that golden generation where they played more with fear. The pressure on the Lampards, the Gerrards, the Beckhams, the Rooneys was very intense at times, especially going into tournaments. Jude Bellingham, tell me what you think about this kid, who, by the way, any of the top sides in England could have signed from Birmingham a year ago and a bit, and Dortmund have him. I think with the fact that players are tired and injuries could set in, this kid could have a real say as the tournament grows.
Yeah, he could. I've seen him play as a kid, as a baby, and very good player. And then obviously he came into the Championship side and at Birmingham and done very well. And it says a lot, Sophie, when the top German sides are coming to England to get our players. Think about it. Yep. Anybody who's on, think about it. When the top German teams come to England to take our talent and we let it leave just like that. Why? Because they know they're going to give him a chance and they're going to make him play. So I'm right with you. The kid, he played, was it the semi-final against, or was it the quarterfinal against Man City? For Dortmund.
Well, yeah, it's quarterfinal.
Played the quarterfinal against Man City, was scored and was sensational. And he's a baby.
Yeah.
So again, he's one of them sleepers who you don't see coming, but he could have a big tournament.
Yeah, I know a couple of you said Saka, but we know Saka, you guys. We know what he can do, and he's done it, and we've seen him do it. But a lot of fans haven't seen Bellingham play, and Kev's right in that Champions League game. Kev, he put that team on his shoulders.
Yeah, carried him. Yeah,
and he's what, 18?
17, 18. I think he's 18 now. Only
18.
18.
Yeah. And I just think that he's an insane talent. And again, a little bit like how United could have got Sancho back in the day. He went to Dortmund. Any of the top teams could have got Bellingham. He went to Dortmund. And you're right. When German teams come knocking for English players, they have to be good.
They're going to develop. But the key is they're going to develop you.
Yes.
That's what the German teams are going to do. They're going to develop you. And he's developed at 18. And he's in the Dortmund side. That tells you everything.
So, Kev, tell me if you think I'm crazy. I think Scotland are going to take a point off England. I think it's a little bit like a derby, right?
It is a derby.
Well, I'm saying,
it is.
It's a home nations derby. But I think in a derby, I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter who the shit team is or the form team is. It all goes out the window. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. The Scottish team are no mugs.
No mugs, but we'll beat them. I think we'll beat them. No, listen, I just think we'll beat them. If they took a point, it would not surprise. Sophie, we grew up on the home nations tournaments.
I love those, Kev.
And those were some of the best international games for feeling I've seen. Because you've got, England against Scotland, Wales against Ireland, England, Wales, England, Ireland, era, and Northern Ireland. That's special game. And it means a lot because a lot of the players play against each other week in, week out. A lot of their teammates are on the England team are in Scotland. But that when you're wearing your national badge, it means so much. And listen, I just think England have more talent. But it would surprise me. It would not surprise me.
Tierney's going to go super Kevin Campbell on all of them and broke the neck, man.
No, listen, Tierney, just watch yourself, Tierney.
Oh, my goodness. Croatia are not the same team that we faced in the World Cup, are they, Kev, in that semi-final? They've definitely aged a bit. They're still relying on Luka Modric to do a lot of the hard work and the
35,
creativity.
by the way, 35.
He's still a quality player, but they're not the same.
Hasn't got the legs that he once had.
Yes.
But he hasn't got the legs that he once had, yeah. Still
dangerous.
Good team.
Yeah. Where do you see England finishing in this group?
Well, here's the crazy thing, Soph. To finish second might be the best route. Do you know what I mean? It might just be the best route. Listen, I think England will either top the group or finish second. They can top the group. I'd be very surprised if they don't top the group. But then again, if they finish second in the group, that might so-called be a better route to progress. So if they don't top the group, then they've got to be second. That's for sure.
The Czech Republic, to me, Kev, seem like the team no one's giving a lot of respect to. They seem to be the team that, everyone's saying will finish last. I think everyone's going on Croatia's reputation from the Russia World Cup. What's your take on the Czech Republic and the problems that you think they could pose for this particular England team?
Yeah, I think the Czech Republic will be a good, well-organized side. They won't have too many superstars, obviously, but they'll be a good, well-drilled side. And do you know what? So the key is always going to be for England getting our better players on the ball in the dangerous areas. If we can get our key players on the ball in the dangerous areas, we will create chances. But if we start playing to the opposition strength and sit back, that's not going to get the best out of us. We need to be able to brock their neck, being positive.
Yeah.
If we're positive, we'll be all right. But if not, they're going to pose us problems. They'll sit in and then they'll play counter-attack. And we've seen we can be undone on counter-attack at times. So we've got to be very vigilant.
Yeah. And also, Souček, of course, has been a sensation this season. And, we know that he's not an easy player to play against, Kev. And I think that sometimes, we forget about these players that may not be known to everybody, yet they have presence and they're good footballers, and a little bit unlike England, they may not be well known, but these teams play like teams. And I think a lot of the argument with England sometimes they've played more as individuals, but I'll give Gareth Southgate this. They seem to be playing more like a team than ever to be able to combat tricky squads like
tricky
a Czech
opposition.
Republic. Yeah.
Tricky opposition. Yeah, I think you're right. Souček and the Czech Republic guys, not a lot of people.
Pavlenka as well. And
not a lot of people know them. Not a lot of people are giving them any respect. Yeah, Italy just beat Czech Republic 4-0. But you know what? You get crazy results going into a tournament. You do get crazy. But you know what matters?
They won
3-1
yesterday. They won 3-1 yesterday, but they played Albania, so it's not.
Yeah, but what matters, as you well know, Soph, all of these results mean nothing. What matters is when the tournament starts. And that is when, and you just can't put your finger on what's going to happen. I respect them. I expect England to win. Of course I do. But you know what? I respect them because you don't know the names doesn't mean that they're not good players. And any player who plays for their national team is a good player.
Okay. So do you have England winning the group or finishing second, Kev?
I have them winning. I have them winning the group, to be honest with you. Definitely I have England winning the group.
And what's your prediction for the first game against Croatia?
I think it will be a really tight affair. I think probably 1-0 England, but England by the odd goal. 1-0 England.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 to England. And I think England's games will be tougher against the Czech Republic and Scotland than Croatia. I'm not sure Croatia are ready for the tournament just yet. Okay, that's Kev's starting 11. If you're watching on replay, let us know what you think. Everyone in chat, well done. Some good calls from you guys.
So do you want the subs as well?
Let's do the subs. Okay. Yeah,
no, I'm only joking.
Oh, okay.
Get out of it. Get out of it. You see how I'm going to get you going?
I've had 2 days in the
I tell you what, you're baffling my brain picking this 11.
You know what? It's kind of crazy. He's got a really tough decision. There's no doubt about it. You know, because you've got players. Who do you pick? And then you're like, what do you do with Rashford and Sterling? And then there's Calvin Phillips as well. He's had a really good season, and then a very, very good player. And I think you got Calvert-Lewin. He may have a say coming on as an alternative if we're chasing a goal or chasing, an equaliser.
Up top,
right? He can revert to a 2. So it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait for the tournament to start. Tomorrow night, we'll be joined by Oliver Wilson from BT Sport, Talk Sport. And he also does all of the global tournaments, including Copa America. He covers and is a commentator for Copa Libertadores as well. He's going to come on and give us a take on some of the other groups and some of the other teams. So tomorrow night, 8:00 with Oliver Wilson, we'll do the rest of the Euro teams that are gunning for glory. Speaking of gunning, Kev, you knew I wouldn't let you go without a little torturous transfer talk.
No torturous. Nothing torturous. It's all
nothing,
good.
Yeah? Is it?
Nothing torturous for me. Yeah, nothing.
No. So 15.5 million supposedly for Xhaka. Bit cheap, Kev. Bit cheap. It's a bit cheap.
Well, we don't listen. We
35
don't know.
35 for Neves and 15.5 for Xhaka. It's a bit cheap, isn't it? I mean, come on.
Well, look, at the end of the day, teams know we have to get rid. Right? When teams know you have to get rid, do you run the risk of not moving him on and then you're stuck with him come the end? And also... That's my question for you, Soph. That's the question.
Well, let me dovetail it into...
No, that's a question.
I just feel like we're doing it again. Like Guendouzi, 8 million? 8 million? I mean, do you remember like a year ago, everyone was saying, he's a 20, 25 million pound player.
But he's the problem. Who wants to buy a problem?
Well, Arteta kind of made him a problem too, an extra
problem.
problem.
No, come on, Soph. Arteta never made him the problem. The kid is a problem. He had problems at Arsenal. He's had problems in Germany. Can't blame Arteta for the kid's problems.
I will say Tim Stillman made a really good thread today on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's about something I've talked about a lot on this show, man management. And when you inherit problematic players, or players who might be problematic, and you manage them, you put your arm around them. Like Robin van Persie, he mentioned too. He was known to be potentially problematic. But, the way Wenger managed him, the way some managers do that, it just seems like Arteta gives up very quickly on players, whether it's a Saliba, whether it's a Guendouzi.
He doesn't give up on players. He needs his players to buy in. And if you don't buy in, see you later.
Okay.
That's George Graham's style.
Okay, but do you not agree that 15.5 million in today's market, especially when, sometimes people say, oh, who cares if he's captain of Switzerland and he's playing in the Euros and has played at tournaments? But I'm sorry, the market value of a player, you include a lot of different spokes to the wheel. And he definitely has that. I just think he's a 25 million pound player.
Yeah, but do we know it's 15.4 million?
Well, it is today.
Yeah, but we don't know. There could be add-ons that make it up to 25. We don't know. So when you say 15.4 million, that isn't necessarily true. Do you understand what I mean? So let's wait and see actually what it is in the end. Arsenal know the value, but to get him out the door and to have the add-ons that will take it up to 25 million is the same.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's another, 70 days left, or is it 80? I don't know. 75, you guys can tell me, to the end of this transfer window. It's going to be long. It's going to be long. But initially, Kev, I want to get your take on this because we haven't spoken. Were you bummed about the Buendia thing, and are you the pivot to Neves? What's your take on that before we head out today?
No, I wasn't bummed on it. Yeah, they liked the player, but obviously they didn't like him enough. Because if they liked him enough, they would have got him. That's the bottom line.
Now, so it's nothing to do with the money and the add-ons, and
But this is what I'm trying to say to you. If that's the first move you're going to be making, you've got your money.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want him, you get him.
Mm-hmm.
But they obviously had a ceiling of what they would pay for him, and it far exceeded what they wanted to pay. So no problem. You could have him Villa. I mean, they're talking about Nabil Fekir at, what is it, 13, 14 million. Now, let me tell you something. Nabil Fekir is a top player, by the way. Top player. Getting him at that price, again, just the balaclavas on and going over to Real Betis and stealing.
Yeah, but he's been injury prone. That's the problem with him.
Well, he hasn't. He hasn't been injury prone.
Well, not this season. But
but he hasn't been injury prone. You see, this is I've watched it for 2 years. He hasn't been injury prone. He hasn't. He's had injury problems previously, but he hasn't been injury prone at Betis.
It just seems like another player that we were associated with 3 years ago and we didn't get him. Same thing. Like, it seems like this pattern just keeps repeating. Players in their height, like, Usam Aouar last year was worth X, this year he's worth Y. I don't mind that. I don't mind waiting and getting a better price for a player. It's like Mvia came up again today and I'm like, what? That was so 5 years ago. There's just certain players that come up, Kev, that we were looking at maybe more in the height of their ascendancy versus now. And I'm not saying like we should be held to ransom, but Buendia, now everyone's like, oh, he's a championship player. Well, you didn't mind that before when you thought we were going to sign him, right? And he played Norwich, etc., etc. Is Ødegaard back on? What do your people on the ground tell you in La Liga?
I think that's off the table now that Ancelotti's there. Ancelotti's going to embrace that squad. He needs all the players, the young players, to buy into the system, etc. So I can't see Ødegaard leaving now.
Do you rate Neves if that were to happen?
I do. I mean, Neves was never one he actually spoke about because we always saw that Wolves side, with the Portuguese connection, going nowhere. So he's not a player I ever spoke about. But one thing we do know, he's a damn fine player. He's a fine midfielder, and he's a threat shooting from outside the box.
Let me ask you this. Does some of these moves or non-moves make you believe that Willock is going to get his chance next season? Or do you think we're going to end up cashing in on him while his stock is high? They're talking about a double swoop.
That's not fair. That's not fair. You're asking me with 70-odd days left on the transfer window, right?
It's not fair.
It's not fair. You're asking me, does this mean? Does what mean? There's so much work to be done. I think if Willock wants to stay, Willock gets a chance.
Okay.
If he wants to stay, he gets a chance.
Also, there's this rumour that Newcastle want a double swoop for Willock and Saliba. And the whole Saliba thing has come up again.
It's going to come up. It's going to come up. But
I can see talking about transfers is going to be really tricky. We might call it the tricky transfer.
You are tricky today,
talk.
Sophie. You are tricky and torturing me, by the way. Look, Newcastle obviously want Willock. That's no end. They want Willock. I just think Saliba, now Saliba's coming back. There's a space for him at Arsenal. Never mind anywhere else. We've got rid of David Luiz. So now there's that spot for Saliba. Come in and show us what you got. Why would we be loaning him out? We don't need to. He's been loaned out 2 years. Get him in.
Yeah, get him in. All right, well, that's good. I think that's good enough for today, Kev. We've done the England 11, both of ours. Yours, very interesting. You think England are going to top the group, and you think they're going to beat Croatia by 2-0. Or did you say 1-0? Yes, sir.
I said 1-0. You said 2-1.
Yeah.
Soph, what do you think about Neves?
Here is the scoop about Neves, right? I find it very interesting with fans that have been comparing us to Wolves all season and saying, I would love a Neves. I would love a...
I love it, yeah.
And, I would love Traore. I would love this. I'd love Nuno even. And now we're actually in for a Neves. It's a catastrophe.
He ain't good enough. He ain't good enough. He's not this. He's not that. And
that's what I think.
And that's, Sophie, that's why I asked you, because I get so many people coming at me saying, he's not good enough. No, my first choice, I still think we've got to do the business. Obviously, we've got to do the business for Basuma.
Yes.
We still have to. But you know what? As part of that squad, Neves as well. To get Neves, we can't ever have enough quality players in that centre of the pitch, in that engine.
Yeah. But hold on a second, guys. You keep saying like Neves under Nuno at Wolves. Yes, but Pepe under X at Lille, Aubameyang under X at Dortmund.
Partey under
Simeone.
Atletico.
Odegaard not getting a chance, and he was under like Zidane and all those other managers that, I mean, it's just, you can't look at it like that. And there's something though, Kev, that is concerning me. Why haven't we just signed Basuma already? He just seems like the missing link, and that's what worries me. There's this toing and froing with him, and I'm not convinced he's convinced.
Well, you see, sometimes you cannot sign the player until usually it's June the 1st. Usually that's when he's, if you're signing the player, that's where they like to announce it was from June the 1st. Because that's when the contract, your next year of your contract will kick in. Okay? So look for a bit of activity around June the 1st. Oh, sorry, July the 1st. It's July the 1st is that cut-off date usually. So if, let's say a player's contract's running out, so his contract, the last day of his contract is June 30th. So he'd be clear from the 1st of July. A lot of teams like to do maybe you can announce it, but the contract gets signed for July 1st.
I guess what pisses me off is, and again, nothing's been signed, but apparently deals are close for Edouard and Samari for Leicester. I mean, those are players that,
Well, Edouard I get because obviously Brendan Rodgers knows him.
And they need
like him.
cover in that position. They really do. They don't have that
Vardy's
cover.
not going to last forever.
No,
And
no.
Samare, obviously, good player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, probably someone in there with Ndidi, etc., as well. Cover as well. Tielemans, we know, is a good player, but
Apparently Liverpool are after him. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are planning for the future, and unfortunately, we're talking to this one, that one, the other, but we're not announcing anything yet.
No, and Kev, this notion that we're basing our signings on the African Cup of Nations, stop. I mean, do we do that for the Euros? I know it's like more frequent, and I know it comes into play, but surely that's not why we wouldn't be signing Basuma, is it?
No, of course not. Who's mentioning that anyway?
Fans.
Well, yeah.
I've read it. I've read a few pieces on that.
Yeah, but no, teams don't. Come on, you look at the player.
I think so.
You look at the player. If the player fits what you do, then you sign him. So.
Well, look, the transfer market is certainly not a shot of vodka. It's a glass of wine. Okay, just sit back, let it marinate, swirl it around a little, have a sniff, have a little taste, and then let it all soak in, Kev. That's the transfer window.
Yeah, it could also be some overproof Jamaican rum, let me tell you, because I'm telling you, it could be good and bad. It could be bad.
It really can. Really can. Well, I'm hoping my new mic's going to be here soon, Kev, so I don't have to hold this bastard up for much longer. Although it's really helping with the old muscles. You know what I mean? Just give my workout.
Yeah,
bit of training.
Love it. Yeah.
Bit of training.
Cool.
So yeah, unless you have anything else for today, I'm calling it quits.
Well, listen, the Kev Bruckianek time has moved it on to 56, nearly 57. So nicely under an hour, we've done it.
Yeah, we did it. Definitely. I like your team. I like where you're going. I like your confidence, even with England. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit trickier than it always is with England. It's never that seamless. The World Cup, I think, last time was a bit of an easier group, a bit of an anomaly. Maybe Kane. Listen, can I get you out on this one, Kev? Another 30-second, real quick. When Kane scores for England, you cheer, yeah? You just cheer because it's England.
Do I cheer?
Yeah.
I'm happy England, but I don't cheer. I just give it that. Yeah. If Saka scores, say yeah. When Kane scores, I'm like
this. There's something about it that just feels wrong, but it's right because obviously it's England. We're born and bred Londoners. We want England to win.
If he scores, no, I'll cheer. I'll cheer for England for sure. I'll be happy. I want England to do well. Yeah, of course I do. I want England to do well. But you know what? Again, Kane is like, come on, get in there. But if Saka or everybody, go wild, yeah.
At least there are less Tottenham players in this squad to have to deal with than there was in Russia. Oh, that's all I have to say, because that was a bit tough. That one, that was a little bit tough.
That was.
All right, kids. Listen, there's a new auction as well. Go over to footballprizes.co.uk. Future Arsenal legend, maybe Nicolas Pépé, signed and framed Arsenal shirt. Kev, tickets only $4.95. We'll be giving a freebie away tomorrow. You won't want to miss it, but it's very popular. Just a few tickets left. So you don't want to miss out on that Nicolas Pépé signed and framed shirt from our good friends at Football Prizes. It's up for grabs now. Go get your ticket. Until then, Super Kev, let the troops know we're back and we're making announcements and shit's moving. Things are happening.
Listen, there's all sorts of ish going on, yeah? So the main lady on this side is smashing it up. Whether you support England or you support the Gunners, you know what time it is. Always Arsenal boys and girls, always the Gunners.